Did you know that in business and life, not every season is meant to be a sprint? You see, sometimes maintaining is the smartest move that you can possibly make. But so many of us, hey, high achievers, we equate slowing down with falling behind. So ask yourself, what if holding steady was actually part of your growth strategy? That's what I'm going to talk about today in this episode, where we figure out, are you in momentum season or maintenance season? And this is where high achieving women create more success with more ease, alignment, and joy. And today I'm going to talk about a topic that every business owner and professional woman faces, but we don't actually plan for it, which is the interesting part. And we're not always aware of where we are at any given moment. But knowing whether you're in momentum season or maintenance season is so important. Now, I remember after my dad passed, I really should have been in full-blown maintenance season, meaning maintenance season is the time when you hold back and you maybe behind the scenes put stuff in place and you're juggling fewer balls, you're maybe less in the public eye. And the momentum season is when you're going forward and maybe you're pushing and you're doing a lot of things and you're putting out more energy and maybe you're in the public eye more. Maintenance, I really should have been behind the scenes. And I had already, we were in a period, a place where we were putting together the Confidence Secrets book. And that was the second in the Dynamic Women series of books. And I had so many authors in it. I wanted to get more authors. And I can remember just not having the energy or desire or the excitement anymore to fill the last spots. And I said to one of my business coaches, but I'm only at, whatever, 34 authors and I need to get 52. And he was like, "Who said you need to get 52?" And I said, "Well, that's what we did in the first book, Success Secrets, and I wanted to do the same." And he said, "Well, do you have to do that? Can you still create a really good book with 34 people?" And I was like, "Yeah, I could, I guess to make it bigger, I could add in more of my own stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, why don't you do that? Like what would it take for you to muster the energy to be able to fill the rest of the book?" And I was like, "I just don't have it in me." And he said, "That's totally fine. And just put it out the way it is. Like you didn't promise your authors to have 52 people. Who made that rule? You did. So you can change it." And I was so appreciative of that moment because I felt pressure in a maintenance season to do more and to push and to kind of have momentum. But I realized my energy and my ability to perform at that time, it wasn't, I couldn't do it. And this wasn't failure, it was wisdom, thanks to my coach, that I needed to really honor that maintenance season. So I'm going to go through today talking a little bit more about what momentum and maintenance seasons are, why we need to do it, the benefits of it, some obstacles we might face, and then the problems if ignored. So, as we go in, I want you to keep checking in with yourself to think, am I in maintenance? Am I in momentum? When have I felt like I was in one or the other? When did that serve me? And by the end, we'll get to a point where I'll give you a little call to action. Okay. So, momentum seasons and maintenance seasons, they're both essential for long-term success. And that's long-term success in business and life. And please, as I continue, just keep thinking about both. And you can come up with your own examples of both, and I'll come up with some for you. But the problem is, society glorifies and we glorify momentum, right? But we shame maintenance. We shame people when they're not doing crazy things. Even like, what's new? Right? That's momentum when people ask you that. What's new and exciting? And I've been guilty of asking that of people. And the idea of honoring maintenance, of being in that place of like, I just need to keep it together, or I just need to like do some stuff behind the scenes. It's not necessarily growth, but it's keeping things as they are, or maybe even improving things behind the scenes. But maintenance, it's where systems are strengthened, creativity recharges, your success becomes more sustainable. right? Because you have things in place that are going to help you to get further. And knowing what season you're in is crucial, not only so that you can make decisions, but so that you can own it and give yourself permission to either go for it or take a break. And that's going to prevent burnout. It's also going to prevent guilt. And as soon as my coach kind of said to me, do you really need to push? You really need to do that? And since it was the second book, the first book, we did two launch parties, both in Ontario and Brantford, my hometown, and where I live now in North Vancouver, BC, both Canada. And I was like, am I going to have a launch party? But the authors were from all over, from Canada, from all over Canada, from the States, and from other places that I was like, it just doesn't make sense. We can't bring everyone together. And so I also was allowed to do a virtual launch party, which was just so much easier on me as well. And so if we think about fitness, this came up just the other day. One of my soccer teammates, she runs marathons. Good on her. And it was her, she did a marathon. She'd been training for it. And I remember one of the games because she plays near me on the field. And she said, oh, I can go off. And I was like, do you need to go off? Because she's quite good. And I was needing her support. And she said, well, no, I was just being fair. And I said, okay, well, if you can stay on, that'd be great because you're doing a great job. And she said, yeah, but my legs are tired because I like ran whatever it was the day before, not the actual marathon, but she was training, maybe ran 35, something like that, kilometers the day before. And so she still attended the game, which was great. But after she did the actual race, she pushed herself, right? She was in momentum. She pushed leading up to it. She was training hard and doing all this. And then she had a personal best. Amazing, right? And so she said to us, hey, I can't make practice because I just did a marathon. And when you think of runners, and I only realized this when one of my teammates for Kenya on the mission trip I went on, one of my teammates is a marathon runner. And I said, well, how many races do you do a year? And she's like, 2 to 4, maybe. And I was like, oh, because they're expensive to go to, or you only get like sponsored for so many. And she said, no, 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 like it's kind of the sweet spot is typically 2 to 4 marathons per year. That allows enough time for recovery, maintenance, right? And then proper training between the races, the momentum stage. And even at like just doing two a year, spaced out 6 months apart, but really going well, could be a really common and manageable goal for runners, which was really interesting. I was like, wow, that's it. And so she had a personal best because she was honoring recovery days, right? The maintenance mode, so that her muscles could rebuild. And business and life are so much the same, right? So if we think of it, 2 to 4 major things per year, personally or in business, is the momentum stage. And depending if there's like one massive thing, then maybe it's just one big thing or it's a bunch of small things. You get the point. You're smart. But the cool fact is that those companies that actually strategically do that pause, so they say, just like the runners, I'm only going to do 2 to 4 major launches, product drops, summits, book launches, whatever it may be, those was when they strategically pause to consolidate, to build those systems, they actually outperform those companies who consistently chase that growth, who are in momentum all the time, which can be stressful for the employees. They outperform them 30% over 5 years. So it's proof that the stillness needs to happen. The strategy is best to be able to have that constant, rather than constant acceleration, that burst and then pause and burst and pause and burst and pause. So maintenance, right? And then maintenance and then momentum and maintenance and momentum and kind of going back and forth. If we think of even the seasons of nature, nature's only putting out the harvest one season per year, and sometimes you'll get multiple ones depending on where you are, but it's that like building, 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 that rest, building, and then the growth comes, and then eventually the harvest. And so if nature's doing it on a normal once a year cycle, the fact that we could do it a few times would be amazing. So what are the benefits of embracing the season that you're in? Whether it's maintenance or momentum, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is you want to be able to align your effort with your reality. I'm going to say that again. You want to align your effort with your reality because when you do, you're going to gain so many things. Like for me, peace of mind. I was like, oh, I don't have to fight that I'm in maintenance mode anymore. I don't have to push myself to be in momentum because sometimes it's just too hard. It's too hard to be in momentum when we're not feeling it. And you'll start to have stronger foundations when you do go into maintenance mode. You build those better systems, those better processes. You rest, you build your energy, you build connections, and then you can head out there. It also help you with confidence, right? Because you're going to start making decisions from clarity, not pressure. Because when you're pressured by like, oh, I got to do this, like for me, it was, how am I going to get more people in the book? How am I going to do this? I was not rested enough to be creative enough to come up with some ideas. And so I lacked confidence because I didn't have it in me to give. And you might be like, well, I didn't lose my dad and have that. Yeah, but you've had your own stress, your own trauma, or your own situation, or your own busy, hectic time that you knew you were in maintenance mode and just couldn't do anymore. When you do it, the benefit too is renewed creativity. You have space to think, space to innovate, and plan the next big leap. Because when we look at even the areas of who you need to be in running a business, if we think of the E-myth, right? You're the technician doing the work, you're the manager managing the people, and then you're CEO moving the business forward. If you're in momentum all the time and you're pushing, 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 maybe as the technician, you're not having enough time in the other roles. So in one maintenance season, for me, the business of virtual assistant made easy was really had a massive growth. I think we were like 50 clients, 16 VAs, and I hadn't done much coaching or workshops or speaking engagements for a while because I was so focused on building that business. And then I was like, okay, no, no more. We have to stop this momentum. It's too crazy. I was always like, I'm trying to catch up and trying to put the systems in place, everything. And I just said, I have to stop. I have to get out of momentum and I have to go into maintenance. And so how I did that was I did a hiring freeze. I didn't hire any more VAs for probably like a year because I was like, too many things. And when I have a VA, I am responsible for filling, right? Filling their client list. And so I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus on refining our systems, our VA systems, our client systems, instead of adding more clients. It was great. And it was good for my team too, to just give them my two main VAs, just to give them some time to just like catch up and get some of my coaching stuff set up again and the behind the scenes and it gave me a time to even be able to go there and visit them in the Philippines. And so that season, I didn't grow my revenue beyond where it was, but I doubled my capacity later because we were able to automate more things. I was able to teach or train, pass off more things. And so maintenance in this case created the structure for the momentum, right? For that next wave of momentum when it came. But there are obstacles and there's reasons why we resist it. And I haven't always been in that place of, oh, yeah, I'm in maintenance and I'm going to honor that and be cool just hanging out here. And I haven't always been in momentum and been loving it either. I've maybe been in momentum for too long and needed to leave, or even been in maintenance too long. And so I have to make sure I manage that. But when we resist just the maintenance side of things, it comes because of comparison, right? So we're looking at things online, we're meeting people at networking groups, and we're saying, wow, she's scaling, I should be too. She launched a new book, I should too. She's got this program coming out, I should too. That comparison doesn't put you in a creative place, it puts you in a chasing place. And then the second thing that is kind of pushing you to stay out of maintenance is pressure. Pressure because You're not on social media being like, look at me sitting behind the scenes making systems and processes. Look at me conserving energy for the next momentum. No, no. Being in quiet progress isn't fun social media posts, right? Social media celebrates growth mode, scaling, launching, not this quiet progress behind the scenes. And so you feel the pressure of like, what else am I going to drop? What's new going to happen? The next reason is I'm going to give you four is fear because maintenance feels like stagnation, right? It feels like you're slowing down, you're stopping, you're not making progress, or worse, it feels like failure, but it's not failure. It's not failure that you're in maintenance mode, right? It's not, we shouldn't have fear. It's a wise decision. And that's why earlier I said it's important to know where you're at or where you need to be, or even to schedule these different phases. And the last is our ego. Hmm. We crave external proof that we're still winning. Oh, launch this, check. Oh, I spoke here, check. Oh, I made that incredible thing, check. And because of our egos, we needed to be stroked that when we're hiding kind of in maintenance, when we're putting in the work, we have to get really good in those cases of just caring for ourselves and knowing that we are enough. But the problem is for high achievers, we don't feel enough unless we're taking off the boxes and having that external proof. You know, when there was a time I scrolled through social media and I saw my peers launching new programs. And I was trying to focus on optimizing what I already had. And I felt like, oh no, no, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to go launch another program because I felt so behind. I felt like they were beating me, doing better until I realized that they were sprinting while I was stretching, right? You know, the tortoise and the hare, that they were sprinting, but you can only sprint for so long and then you crash, you run out of breath, your muscles seize. And so I was needing at that time to slow down, and my pace didn't have to match their pace because we also don't know what support people have. You know, for me personally, also when I've had babies, been pregnant, or had little ones, my pace was much slower than normal. Not compared to others, just my pace was slower than normal, which was really frustrating because I am a high performer and I can get stuff done, and you probably feel the same too. But I had to be in maintenance mode for years when my kids were little. And now, even that my kids are 10 and 13, I feel like I'm in this new stage where I have to be around more. And so I need to go in maintenance mode every once in a while just to be around, to be available, to be there for those late night conversations or the bonding that happens. So don't compare yourselves to others. Your pace needs to be your pace, not, set against someone else. If you don't understand your maintenance, if you don't recognize the true season that you're in, so you stay in momentum for too long, you're going to burn out. It's just the way it goes, right? You're going to push your body, you're going to push your mind, you're going to push your team, but they need rest. We all need rest. And it was interesting. I was at a time I went to my naturopath and I was like, I'm just tired. I'm tired all the time. And she did my blood work. And then she looked at it and she said, I understand. Your life is stressful. And I was like, what's going on in my life? Like I told her what was happening. And she said, wow, like no wonder your cortisol is so high. Like that stress hormone, my cortisol was super high. And I said, well, why? And she goes, you're doing so much. I said, I'm not doing so much. I used to do so much more before. And she said, yeah, but your body is telling me that it can't. And so you can't keep pushing your body, mind, or team They don't have it in them to basically run a business marathon one after another after another. The next thing that'll happen is there'll start to be cracks in the systems you have in your business. Even if you don't have formal systems, you're going to start, like leads will fall through the cracks. You won't reply to an email on time. You'll miss an opportunity because growth without structure and SOPs really, it leads to collapse because you can't maintain something that doesn't have the proper process, that doesn't have the right structure, and that needs to be updated all the time because we don't want to lose money, lose employees, lose leads or clients for that matter. The next is you're going to feel disconnection. You you may be like, I get it, I get it. So you're gonna feel out of sync, right? You're doing more, but you're feeling less fulfilled. A lot of women come to me and they're like, but I achieved this and I did this and I did this. And I'm like, whoa, look at all the success. But why am I not happy? Yep. Why am I not happy? And they're saying this because they're in momentum for way too long, that they just go on like autopilot and they don't even have a chance to feel or be present. And the last negative, there's so many negatives, but I picked four for you today. Missed intuition, right? You're going to ignore your gut telling you pause, reflect, refine, make this change. We don't like how this is. You're going to miss your intuition when you're just in momentum all the time. That natural, it's just like if we're on our phones all night, we're going to miss the natural cues of I'm tired. Do you ever go camping and then you're like, wow, I'm tired. It's only 8 o'clock. Well, yeah, because your body is telling you that it's had enough and there's no, well, maybe you're on screens, I don't know, but there's no, you're in the darkness outside. Maybe you just have the fire, but you're able to tap into not only your intuition, but your body's natural rhythms. I had back-to-back launches at one point that looked successful from the outside, but internally it was chaos. And the reason being, I wasn't in maintenance mode long enough to get my systems ready, fully ready. And so the next time I realized, no, we're not going to do this. I stressed my team out because I can oftentimes move quickly and just go for it, but not everyone works at that pace and not everyone's cool with that. And not everyone's already been thinking about it for months in my mind, right? So the next time I was like, I gotta pause, I gotta fix the processes, I gotta train the team. And the next launch ran like clockwork. And that's the power of maintenance. You get to have that, right? So ask yourself right now, you've probably been asking yourself the whole time, or at least when I asked you in the beginning, are you in maintenance season or are you in momentum season? And be honest, like don't be idealistic. And it could be that you're in needing to be in maintenance mode for personal reasons or business reasons. But if you're momentum, go all in, do it, but protect your energy, right? Because we don't want to burn out. That'd be like that marathon runner trying to sprint the whole race. They're not going to be able to do it, not at that many hours of running. And if you're in maintenance mode, honor it. Honor it. Use the time to rebuild, to recharge, and to strengthen your foundation, not only in your business, but in your life. And that is for both situations, right? So, either way, there's no shame. There's no shame. It's only strategy. Both seasons matter. Just like in the seasons in nature, I'm looking over here. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm looking over here because it's I see the trees changing outside, the beautiful fall colors. And we don't get mad at fall because we're not growing fruits and the leaves are falling, right? So remember, growth isn't just about acceleration. It's also about knowing when to slow down so that you can rise stronger later. Well, thanks for joining me on the Dynamic Women podcast. If this episode helped you in any way to reframe your season, to choose more wisely, please share with another ambitious woman who needs this reminder too. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversation with just me or with when I have a guest on about creating success and having satisfaction on your own terms. I'm Diane Rolston. Until next time, stay dynamic. Bye.